And I call the member for Goldstein.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. And it's in the spirit of the motion, I would like to continue the sentiment about paying homage and recognition to those police officers who have served our community and paid the ultimate sacrifice, but also to every other serving police officer whose sole purpose they have committed themselves to in their professional life. And the word we should use is service, is to protect our community. And I think everybody in this chamber shares the sentiments and the spirit of the motion around particular acknowledgement and recognition of that service and what they do, not just for the immediate community, but very strongly for those they're charged to protect, but the Australian community, by binding us and providing us with the safety and security on a daily basis that, let's face it, we too often take for granted, but is foundational to our freedom and having a country that we can all feel safe and confident in. Now, that doesn't mean that we should discard in any way the very real challenges and threats and perils that police put themselves in and the situations that they face. I think everybody here understands that you cannot have a safe and free society without people who are prepared to serve the community and ultimately, if necessary, to make the ultimate sacrifice. Now, the hope is always that there has been a significant reduction in the number of police deaths that have occurred in this country, and over the long time frames you can actually say that that is occurring, but that should never diminish the memory of those people who have died in the service of our community. In fact, this motion brought upon me to look at some of the research data that's been available as a consequence of police deaths and what has been driving them in the past, and to partly inform what we should be doing to address tackling that to make sure that it doesn't occur into the future. And the data is basically showing that there has been a decline, particularly as a result of decline in accidental deaths, particularly driven by a change in motor vehicle safety, which is a very important thing, as well as the use and power of technology. But we should always be mindful that while we can increase safety, and technology can play an important part in making sure that we continue to reduce police deaths, that there will never truly be an environment where we are risk-free, and so we must take action appropriately to support the police. In fact, since 1997, there have been 11 deaths by Victorian police officers in the great state of Victoria, and nationally that figure since 1997 is 61. Still too high, tragically high, but we again acknowledge very much the sacrifice that people have made in pursuit of our safety in these difficult circumstances. But it does go to the heart of the concern that many people have around crime and safety, because we know full well that when there are deaths related to the police, it's because of an issue of unrest which has led and escalated to the point of people's deaths. And we've seen too many incidents around the country where police officers, as well as the general community, have been placed at a severe position of risk. Within the Goldstein community, we had an event earlier this year around the Brighton siege, where there was an individual who decided to take an extreme act inspired by his mad ideology that led to one civilian death of a young man working in a local hotel. But in the end, to arrest and to tackle the person who was responsible, the police were compelled to put themselves in harm's way in front of a gunman. Thankfully, no police died on this occasion, but it does show you that no matter where you are in the country, even the community is wonderful of Goldstein, that sometimes you do have these problems and that we all have a collective responsibility as representatives of the state to support and resource police so that they can make sure they can do anything. I know that's a very strong view of not just myself, but the state parliamentary colleagues who I share the Goldstein community with, David Southwick, Louise Asher, and Murray Thompson, but also those people who seek to replace them, James Newbury, Brad Rouswell, and in the case of the Bentley community, Asher Judah, who all place community safety and by consequence police safety as well at the heart of one of the key motivators that has led them to seek political office. And it's together, when we work together on these issues, that we can have the most important, powerful voice for change and making sure we secure that future before. And that's why I'd like to pay recognition to the motion, the spirit in which it was introduced, but also say particularly thanks to the Victoria Police and all police officers serving around our great nation. You have our thanks for your service to our community and to our country.